Alright, Mike here, Northeastern Dirt and Property Maintenance. I shouldn't even be smiling, I can't help it. I don't even know why I am. I'm on a major breakdown. I haven't had a major breakdown. It's in the middle of the day right now. It must be close to lunchtime. I was out ditching, and I had a major kaboom on this hook lift. A major snap, and I think I just broke the cross shaft on this hook lift for your main lifting cylinders. You got tandem cylinders, as you guys can see. I'll show you the whole process. And they are coupled to a cross shaft through the hook lift that lifts it up, and I think I snapped off one side. I think I know why I snapped it off, but we'll talk about that later. But anyway, I can't do anything. I can't even get the bin off the truck because my lifting cylinders are broken, so I'm screwed. So now we're going to attempt to use that 57. I'm going to do a 4-leg lift with that 57 and 4 shackles, and hopefully we can get that bin off that truck, because that bin's got to come off. I'm screwed. Off it has to come. 4 points here. And we're going to do it on this rub rail. So this little 1/2-inch rub rail, it better be strong. And we're going to do it as close to this weld as we can. I got 4 8-foot slings. So before we can attempt to lift on this box to get it off, these safety locks on here that keep your box from flipping over on a bend on the truck or anything, if the box decides to sway from side to side, these latches here have to come out from underneath these safety catches first. We jibbed it back a little bit. These are out of position. Now we can attempt to lift up with that machine. Alright, this is going to turn out real good or real bad. So anyway, we had to pull a pin and we had to take that hook out of there, because you can't get that box off of there unless you got that hook out of there, because we cannot lift. And there you go. Look at that piece of shit right there. Talk about shitty welds. We'll look at those earlier or later. get that machine off center like the way it is, with all that weight of that bin on there, it'll flip that KX right on its side. If I tried to swing motor that over, I can tell already, if I tried to swing that load over and set it on the ground, it would flip that machine right on its side. I already see it happening. So we're going to sacrifice the old tough box. We don't give a shit about the toolbox. I'm going to pull a truck ahead, so if it ever was too much weight for that KX, off center, at least it would fall on top of the tandem float versus flipping the machine on the ground, because I can foresee bad things happening here. Wasn't pretty. It didn't have to be. It just had to be half-assedly safe and not knock somebody's head off. And like I said, we don't care about a toolbox. But I could not get that bin off that truck because of those broken welds, and I'm going to show them to you. So, because there's an adjustable hook height on that hook, we pulled the hook out with the bin, as you guys seen or may not have seen. So we pulled the hook out separately, and then we're gonna go look at this piece of shit. Look at these fucking welds. There's not even any weld right there. What a piece of shit. That's something that irritates me. When I pay almost $40,000 for a hook lift, and I don't care if it's a 2019, you look at those welds, there's absolutely no penetration on it, and I'll tell you, I'm going to call those guys up and talk to them. All right, here we are. I got the truck back in the shop, and I brought it in here, and have a look at some of these welds. I have to calm down a little bit because it just really irritates me. I can't help it. When you look at the integrity of these welds on here, what a dangerous situation. And I'm surprised they lasted this long. It's very hard to see. Not now. Look right there, you guys. Look at that little piece of shit right there. Look at, no, there's nothing there. There's not even any penetration. Look at, no weld, nothing. Nothing. There's absolutely, there's nothing there. And look at here. And yeah, and even look at the welds here. I mean, they're minimal. The welding on here is very minimal, where your structural integrity means the most. That is not a robust setup there with those welds. If anything, you should probably have a 2 or 3 pass fillet weld in here, and you really got to put the heat to these things. And look at, it's all rusted, and look, there's nothing there. Where those two surfaces come together. Work to do here. And I got to clean this up first. There's going to be a lot of grinding, and it's unfortunate because it's galvanized, so it all has to be prepped first, and galvanized is not healthy. When you're grinding that, you got to put on a respirator. And first I got to take that whole assembly. I got to take that whole assembly off the end of that rod right there, bring it out, and I got to do a major grind and cleanup job. And I'm not even going to tell you, I may not even end up welding this. I may call up a good certified welder. I mean, I can weld, I can maintenance weld, and I can do a lot of things, but when it comes to something like this, on this hook lift, and that thing's lifting hydraulically up and down, I want to make sure that that son of a bitch gets welded tough. So I'm probably going to put the word out And I'm probably going to find a good pro welder, and I'm going to bring him down here and get set up, and we're going to weld this thing. We'll see what happens. All right, I got this locking collar off of here. I took off the locking collar that holds the clevis end of the cylinder on there, and we got to get this whole assembly off there. And while I was in the house, just to let you guys know, while I was in the house on lunch just now, I put the call out for a good certified welder, because I do not want to piss around with this thing. I got a lot of confidence in my ability in a lot of areas, but when it comes to high stress areas like this, on this hook lift where these tandem hydraulic cylinders are exerting a lot of force, and sometimes if you're not on level ground, maybe even a little bit of twisting, then you want good welds. But these, as far as I'm concerned, your parent metals here should have broke first. It should have ripped them all away, and the weld should have stayed intact. If you look at it, all your welds broke. And have a look. Look at this, you guys. Just look at these little welds. Those tiny little welds. You'd be lucky if you put a 3/16 pass fillet on. Well, look. That's not good enough. We got to get this off of there. Okay. Okay, that's got to come up just a touch higher. What we really don't want to get into is bent brackets. And the sad thing about it, this is all hot dip galvanized. Once you grind off that hot dip galvanized, it's never the same. You can paint it with galvanized paint. I mean, and you can fuck around doing all kinds of stuff, but it's never the same as that bonded, hot, galvanized that it was originally dipped in. That kind of pisses me off too a little bit. Because I gotta grind all these parts. Okay. All right. And here we go. So as you can tell by looking at it, it's broken all the way around. All the way around this retainer on this hollow structural through shaft casing here, broken all the way around that, and your supporting gussets to back that up, every weld broke on there. I mean, it's snapped clean off of there. So, all right, we got a little bend in this steel right there. We're going to try and push that back. We're going to try. So far, she's been tough skidding. Okay. I just put some wooden blocks in over there, just so we don't push this whole boom that way while I'm trying to press out this. I don't want to bend anything up, because obviously this thing's not as strong as I thought it was. All right, so I got her all prepped up. I got her cleaned up, ground down as best as I can, ground down, clean, and it's ready for a weld. Got a welder coming right now. He was on his way home. He returned my phone call, and I wasn't in my truck at the time, so he started heading into North Bay. And so he just called me. He's turning around, and he's coming back to the shop, and we're going to put the hammer in the heat to this thing right here and get this done and over with here, and get back on the road and get going. So he should be here anytime. When in doubt, you called in the pros to do your welding for you. All right, you guys, we got it all re-welded, refit. Okay, you guys, we got the hook truck all welded up today too, and thanks to Michael?
Yeah, Michel.
Michel Etier.
That's right.
Etier. They're all French up here, all these guys here. You better learn to speak French up here with these guys too, man, because it's just the way it is. But anyway, what's the name of your business?
HA Contracting Limited.
HCA Contracting Limited.
You got her.
And he gave me a business card right here, mobile welding and bucket refurbishing. So I called a few guys today, and some didn't respond, and one was very busy, and he just happened to be in the area, luckily, and he returned my call, and he was actually on his way home, and he turned around and he come back, and he welded up this Hooklift truck. And some welding jobs I have no problem doing, but this Hooklift truck, with that hydraulic pressure in those bins, I wanted somebody who had the equipment to do that job right, because I don't want another breakdown. So thanks.
Thank you very much.
And the beauty of it is this guy turned around. He was halfway home already, and he turned around and came back, so that kind of saved my bacon. I'll finish putting this together tonight, and it's much appreciated. And whenever I come onto a guy like this up here in Northeast Ontario, I don't know a lot of people, but what I was just telling him is whenever I can depend on somebody, or I call them and they come and leave business cards, these are the guys I'm going to stick with, and these cards go in my collection of dependable guys. So that's all I have to say, and I thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yeah,
it's a pleasure.
Yeah, thanks. Okay. Good morning, everybody. So I thought I'd show you guys the finished product of that hoist after that Michel Etier welded that up for me on there, and we got a good weld on there. He got a good solid weld on there. I have used it to finish up a ditching job over here the other day. I used it and I put her through a bit of a torture test. I loaded it up and no problem there. So I just wanted to show you guys those welds. I got the truck back in operation, and I'm going to continue working and loading this bin up and hope for the best. Now, I am a little suspect on the other side. If one side broke with welds that weren't that good, the question is the other side going to break? So maybe we're going to see what happens, but I told him I may this winter, as soon as this truck comes off the road in another month, I may grind off the galvanize on the other side, clean up those welds, and when he's in the area reworking any forestry equipment and fixing up buckets and everything else, which he does in his business, I may call him up here when he's in the area or have him call me, and then we'll come in the shop and we'll completely re-weld that other side, because I don't trust the other side. I really don't. If one side broke and I look at the welds and the penetration is very piss poor. And another thing I'll tell you, I called On-TRUX right there, just so you guys can see. This is a Canadian-made hook lift by On-TRUX Limited right there. And there's their phone number, on-trux.com. And I called those guys, and I sent them photos of those welds. And do you think they'd even acknowledge my email that I sent them with the photos? I even called them and said, the guy said, send me the photos, and I sent them. I mean, even for safety's sake, for other people or something, you know, when you've got welds like that, those are suspect welds to me, just looking at the penetration. They didn't even acknowledge my presence. I must be like orbiting around in Mars or somewhere, because they didn't even acknowledge my presence at all. They just didn't even call me back, didn't say, oh, too bad, we'll have a look at that, or they basically wanted nothing to do with it. And probably because it's a 2019 hook lift, they probably think, oh, I've used it and I've abused it and everything else. But anyway, On-TRUX wanted nothing to do with calling me back on this hook lift. But I will say this, On-TRUX builds roll-off systems here in Ontario, and they build hook lifts here in Ontario, and I think they're probably the only hook lift company building them in Ontario. But I will say this, if I ever build a tandem hook lift, and it's always on my mind to build a tandem hook lift truck, 2 tote bigger bins, 2 haul more material, whether it be gravel or earth, I can tell you what I won't be putting on a truck. It won't be an On-TRUX. It'll be a Palefinger, or it'll be a Stellar. And that's what's going to go on the next truck, Palefinger or Stellar. It will not be an On-TRUX. And if you don't at least acknowledge me, then you know what? That's not the way it's going to work with me. But anyway, thanks you guys for tuning in. And I just thought I'd show you that rework on this On-TRUX roll-off system here on those poor quality welds that we had to re-weld and put back in place and everything else. So thanks for tuning in. Hopefully everything's good for now, and I'll talk to you again. Thanks.